This starts. Testing. Mic check. All right, good. All set. All right, we are ready for the live stream. Let me just get my ducks in a row. All right. So I have a couple of things today. I think it's gonna be a little bit random today, but we're gonna start off with Chinese New Year. I need to call my family members and wish them greetings. So I was trying to look up some sayings for Chinese New Year here. Yeah, for all of you who are non-Chinese or non-Asian, I guess. Today is the Lunar New Year, so it's a big time of celebration. And you're supposed to get red envelopes of money and spread that around and wish your elders and others Happy New Year. So I'm trying to brush up on some of this before I give them a call. But the most popular saying is, what is it? Bless happiness and prosperity. This is a greeting of prosperity reserved for Chinese New Year. Yeah, I think this is the main one that everyone says, which is Gong Hei Fat Choi. Yeah, I think that's the one. And Sun Lin Fai Lo. There we go. All right, so to everyone out there, definitely say Happy New Year to your Asian friends. Spread the wealth, spread the joy, and Happy New Year to all my Asian peoples out there. All right, so we're going to start off with Happy New Year, start off on a good note, and then we are going to jump to a couple of things. I have some questions that have been coming in. I've been meaning to answer across the board. I think in the future, I'm going to need to find a way to consolidate all the questions because it's a little bit scattered and hard to address because they're coming in either through email or one of the social media platforms, and it just gets hard. So I'm gonna try my best to do more cross-platform questions instead of just the YouTube comments this time. What was the most recent questions? There was a couple of questions I did want to address from LinkedIn. I've gotten a couple of messages that I just haven't gotten a chance to talk to, and I'm not going to show them on the screen just because these are private messages. I don't know if anyone wants me to show their names. So if you want me to show your name, definitely let me know. But otherwise, I'm just going to hide everyone's name while I go through some of these questions here. So we're going to start off with a couple of LinkedIn questions, and I'll read them off. Let's see here. The first one, let's see. Oh, interesting. Okay, so the first question is from someone who is a PGY resident, and they said, I've been very fortunate to receive a bunch of interview offers. Do you have any words of wisdom to share as I move forward in the process? Or looks like he corrected. Any words of wisdom, tips, or recommendations? All right, so the first thing I'll say is there's actually a video that I created with my colleague Dennis, I think like a year or 2 years ago, on this topic. It's probably just a little dated, but still quite relevant, I would say. There is, what was it? Pharmacy interview. Definitely check it out because I think a lot of the things that we said still apply. It's this one right here. Tips to nail your pharmacy residency interviews. I think the general tip I would say, and I think I had a question about this last time too. The general tip I would say about interviewing for residencies is be yourself. I know it's very cliche to say that, but be yourself. And the reason why I say it is because my experiences in PGY1 residency is that I was so scripted that all my interview responses came out terrible. I felt like I was reading a script and it was very obvious, it was very awkward, and it was not good. So I would say be yourself, definitely come up with some stories beforehand and think about how you can, communicate that in a way that is not scripted. Don't memorize it and just let it flow out. And the second thing, of course, is just do your research on the program. Make sure you know the preceptors, who's interviewing you, things about the residency site, things like that. So basically, be yourself and do your research beforehand. So that is the first question. Looks like solo. So I have the live chat over here on the right this time. We'll try that out. So if you guys have questions or comments and things like that, definitely leave them over here, and then I'll try to address them as they come in. Looks like Solo B, what's going on, man? Great work as always. Appreciate the support. All right, we're gonna move on to the next question here. What is this one? Let's see. I'm sure I'm looking for a 10. That's not so much a question. Says, what internship opportunities? That's probably not a good question. Let's see. I didn't even contemplate peer roles. Outlook. Reaching out. Okay. Some of these are, I think there's a couple of conversations going on, and it's a little harder to read through. So why don't we jump into some of the questions I got on my Gmail, which I'm actually not going to share either, just, because they're private messages. I don't want to share the name. Let me see here. So some of the messages that came in recently, I think this one's from 3 days ago. Let's see. The question is, my name is blah, 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 and I'm really interested in the Epic Cadence certification. So for those of you who are not familiar with Epic, Cadence is the scheduling application. So like scheduling appointments and things like that. So she says, I saw your video on YouTube and just wondering how you got Epic certified. So I guess to quickly address that question, I originally was Epic Proficient, which I got during my pharmacy informatics residency. And then when I got hired onto a job, we were implementing Epic. And so they got me Epic certified in Willow. So that's how I got certified, just because I got hired to an organization that was implementing Epic. And then she says, I know that it is hard to get in, as I've tried to get into institutions that have the system, but no luck. I have a background in healthcare field. I just received my BAS in healthcare management, and I'm currently seeking a job in Houston. I feel that maybe if I have a certification such as Epic to put on my resume, that would help get me hired. Do you know of any other institutions like Epic that are easier to get into? That's a good question. I mean, I feel like that's one of the most common questions I get. They're really, I don't have an easy answer for you here, but it really is, you can't get an Epic certification unless you get hired to an Epic organization. So it is hard to get hired if you don't have one already. It seems like you have some good experience. It's just about networking and applying. Applying can be a little difficult because it might feel like you're applying to a black hole. So I definitely would encourage you to network, maybe network at informatics conferences. There's a lot of different conferences. You can try and look them up. Probably AMIA or HIMSS are two that come to mind. But network with people probably can help put in referrals and help you get to the hiring managers in that aspect. But there really isn't a way around it. The two, of course, that I've stated in my videos before is, one, you work for Epic directly. Two, you work for an Epic organization. So if you don't get hired, you can't get one. And then the third, which one of the commenters mentioned before, is that you work for a consulting agency. So some people consult for Epic, and if you get hired through them, which is probably a little easier in some ways, but you probably should have some experience, then you can get Epic certification through them. So aside from that, that's what it is. So in terms of ease, it really depends. I wouldn't say any one is easier than the other. It's just, does your experience fit what they're looking for? So hopefully that was helpful. Let's see. What's the next question? Next question. I didn't do a good job of sorting some of these comments beforehand. Why don't we jump into YouTube comments? Okay, let's go with YouTube comments. So let's see here. The first question we have, make sure I didn't do this one last time. I've worked in pharmacy technician. I think I did this one. I think I did Infinity Time on maybe one of my older videos. So let's skip to Planet Hope. So Planet Hope, oh my goodness, this is a long comment. So Planet Hope has a question here, or maybe a comment or an essay. Planet Hope says the number of slots for pharmacy schools has doubled in the last 10 to 15 years, yet more of them continue to open each year. With mergers and acquisitions and the lack of reimbursements for MTM and no provider status for pharmacists, the growth of pharmacists to be only 3% over the next 10 years. I think the most recent stats, I mean, this is from 5 months ago, but I think the Bureau of Labor Statistics released their projection. I think the growth was 0%. So maybe that is like just dated information. That is roughly 9,100 new jobs over the next 10 years. During this time, roughly 150,000 students will have graduated from pharmacy schools, and that is assuming no new schools open. That is alarming. 200K plus in loans with a 4% origination fee and 8% interest. I feel like I'm in a finance class. And no job growth. Pay is getting worse and layoffs are happening. Stores are closing down due to central fills and poor med reimbursement, and it's hard to open your own pharmacy. Pharmacy schools are hungry for profit, and to maximize that, some schools will just take about anyone, regardless of GPA or PCAT, as long as they're willing to sign away 200K plus in loans. That is an unemployment crisis of mega proportions. So this is a very disappointing comment. I mean, I think I agree with some of the sentiments here. I think anyone in pharmacy would agree too, is that the pharmacy job market's just getting saturated and there's just an oversupply of pharmacists in the field. But I mean, I think I shared it maybe in the last live stream where it's interesting on what's going on, you know, as we continue this trajectory of telling people that there's not a lot of supply or not a lot of demand in it and oversupply. There's actually been a decreased growth in pharmacy schools, decreased applicants, increased residency spots, and probably decreased jobs, if anything. But and then the trends, you look at Tony Guerra's podcast, and he talked a little bit about it. I showed some graphs that looked at the projections, and it seemed as though in the next few years, that actually might change. I'm not saying that this might be a good profession to get into now, because I still think it's a little risky. It's just so saturated that I would be a little hesitant. But all of the things that are stated here might actually change, which will be very interesting to see how that pans out. I have no idea. I think you just got to continue monitoring the trends to see how that looks. So I guess not really a question, but more of a comment. Okay, moving on. Oh, by the way, let's interrupt the live stream with something that happened yesterday. So for those of you guys who follow some of the stuff that's been going on, I recently moved to the DMV, not to be confused with the Division or Department of Motor Vehicles. It's DC, Maryland, and Virginia. And I moved here officially 2 months, maybe 3 months now, 3 months ago. And so I've been going to some of the meetups. Actually, I think it was my first meetup yesterday. And so we went with a group. I'll show you the picture of it yesterday. Give shout out to everyone that was there. Let me do that. We met up for Restaurant Week. It was Restaurant Week in Alexandria. So I went down there to get some unlimited tapas. And so this was us yesterday. So if you guys can see that. It was pretty cool crew and group of folks. I met everyone for the first time yesterday, and I might do a couple other meetups just to meet some more people in the area. It's cool to meet random people. So a little interruption. Let's go back to comments. So let's see. Next comment here is from Joyce G. Cooper. I didn't know you can put your middle initials in here. So Joyce says, "Hello, Brian. Thank you for that very open and honest video. It takes a big person to admit when they are wrong. The Bible says to lean not to our own understanding. We must always learn to trust God. Proverbs 3:5-6. Your message almost sounded like a preacher or TED Talk. My goal, by the way, one day would be to be on a TED Talk. That'd be pretty cool. I don't know about being a preacher, though. That I'm probably not cut out for that. Sorry to say that your background music was a little too loud. It probably was. My audio back then was pretty terrible. Thanks, and keep up the good work. So this is more of a comment. Appreciate the comments. It was definitely probably one of my most open videos when I first started YouTube, just laying it all out there about how my scramble process went. But okay, moving on. Next comment is from Lee. Lee says, good luck to you, Brian. I know these are comments from quite some time ago. If you guys don't know Lee is a up and rising pharmacist in the ID world. I believe he's doing his PGY2 in ID right now, and he's got a couple more months before he graduates. But keep on the lookout for everyone that's in ID. He's an up and coming guy. Definitely check him out. I think he's also a rapper on the side too, if I recall correctly. Okay, moving on. Next one is what the heck? From AR30. Oh God, another weird Asian thought. I'm not sure how to respond to that, but let's just give them a like, a thumbs up, and a heart on there. Okay, next comment is from Oriental Star. Wishing you safe travels and love that you're chasing your dreams. I did that too and feel like I made the right choice. Sometimes you have to take the leap. Let's definitely meet when you have time in your busy schedule. I love how much there's to see in Cali, and I'm still exploring to it. Well, this video was back when I was thinking about moving to LA instead of DC, and end up choosing DC. But Oriental Star is someone I worked with on Epic. She moved over to Cali to work on another project, and very cool person to work with, very enjoyable. So, okay, next one. This is advertisement. If you need background music, hit me up. Let's see. This is not a comment. We got another comment from Solo B. He says, any video on a day in the life of an informatics pharmacist, vlog type or something. There's no videos lately. I hope to get back into something about that. It's a little harder now because I work 100% remote. And so I don't really know any informatics pharmacists in the area. So probably, I was actually thinking about doing a video about what it's like to work 100% remote. I can probably talk a little bit more about the things I do as an informatics pharmacist. I know that's been on my docket for a long time. But I guess, like, what are you interested in hearing more about? I guess it could be anything, right? Yeah, I'll work on a video like that eventually. I think I was actually thinking about taking another step back from YouTube because my schedule's a little packed until May. But we'll see how it goes. I think I want to do, I have so many ideas. I'm not sure where I want to go with some of these videos. I want to spend less time editing and more time talking about certain topics. For example, I'm very interested in talking about artificial intelligence. It's an area that I don't know much about, but I think, especially in pharmacy, I think it should be informatics pharmacists that start, trying to share the knowledge with all the pharmacists out there to better educate everyone about it. So artificial intelligence is a topic I want to talk about. Another topic I want to talk about is like population health and public health informatics. That's a new up and coming area. That's right up my alley. That's what I'm studying right now in my master's in public health. A lot of population health informatics and a lot of public health informatics, which actually ties into artificial intelligence. And it's another topic I want to share more about because I don't think there's a lot of education out there about that. And then third, I was gonna do a couple of videos on dating. I don't know how my audience feels about that, but because it's completely different. But it's an interesting topic, dating in general. So I thought about I might do some topics on that. Solvi says videos are always inspiring. That's good. So if I did dating videos, I don't know if that would be inspiring, but I think it'll be entertaining at the least, right? But I appreciate that, Solo. And I guess maybe instead of me calling you Solo the entire time, what's your first name? So I can call you by your first name, or maybe your first name is Solo. Okay, so let's move on to another comment. Salomon says, dude, thank you for making this video. I am a RN BSN of 3 years bedside experience in med-surg, MS, ICU, CVICU, and now ER/ED, and I have been trying to find more information on MSN of Informatics nursing online. Your previous video of one of the Informatics nurse in this panel provides some of the best content info I've found. Appreciate that. I'm glad they have been helpful. This has been very helpful and keep the videos coming. I'm beginning to heavily lean towards going back to school for this specialty. It seems like an area where a lot of innovation is ongoing and much more on the way. And there's a response on that. Check out Walden University. They have a great online option that allows you to work and get your master's in nursing informatics. In interviewing some of the individuals in this video and then the other nursing informatics video that was referenced, I think a lot of them actually did go to Walden University. It seems to be a very flexible online option for those who want to do informatics in nursing. And it seems like a lot of people do it there. So probably something to check out. I don't remember if you had a question in there. Let's see. But yeah, definitely, I would highly encourage it. I mean, I love when people have an interest in informatics and want to learn more about it and get into it. Which I guess going back to one of the other things I was saying earlier, another topic I really, really want to talk about is how we can better prepare the informaticists of the future. Be it a pharmacist, a nurse, a physician, a dentist, a PTPA, NP, whoever you are, better training the informaticists of the future, because one of the big issues right now is that we have burnout from our tools. The tools that we've created is not very usable, in my opinion. It could be so much better. And so one of the topics I want to talk about is burnout and usability, and how we can better train our informaticists to create tools that accommodate that. Fun fact, that's actually what my capstone is on as well. My capstone for my MPH program. Okay, let's see. Give a thumbs up and a heart. Thumbs up and a heart. Let's switch real quick and say something else that's a little different. So aside from being Chinese New Year today, it's also apparently Burns Night. I think that's what it's called, or Burns Supper. I don't know what's the appropriate name. Burns Night or Burns Supper. Let me show you over here. Burns Night or Burns Supper. Oops. Burns Night or Burns Supper. Yeah. Burns Night or Burns Supper. So one of my friends or classmates in my MPH program invited me to this holiday celebration that she is having with her, I believe it's husband now. I think they got married recently. It sounds bad. So they invited me over to celebrate this holiday with them. It's a Scottish holiday. Apparently there's a lot of poetry. There's a lot of weird food, is what she said. A lot of whiskey. And she said if I'm up for it, I can wear a kilt. I don't think I am on the level of a kilt yet, but I'm definitely going to go celebrate with them to experience what it's like to be part of a Scottish holiday. So that's exciting. Okay, so let's get back to the comments. Let's see. So next one is from Naturally Roro. This was very helpful and insightful. Thank you. All right. Glad that was helpful. Thumbs up and a heart. All right, let's see. Next question here is from Andrew. Andrew says, Brian, any tips on how to get a job in Epic without having an EPIC certification? That's the $1 million question. I am wanting to work in EPIC, but every time I apply to organizations, they always require a certificate. That's because you're not allowed to work on EPIC in general unless you have one of their training certificates or proficiency. That is why, but doesn't mean you can't get hired to one when they start. I'm wanting to start a new career in the healthcare field due to my mom passing away from cancer. I'm sorry to hear that. Condolences for that. It's very sad to hear. But it's great that you're looking to get into healthcare because of something like that. It's my goal, passion to work in the medical field. I have over 10 plus years of IT experience, but it's been tough trying to find a role that relates to EPIC without a cert. Any tips on how to get into EPIC without an EPIC certification? I think because you have IT experience, and IT experiences can be so broad. I think off the top of my head right now, the hype train is on artificial intelligence, and all the different pieces of artificial intelligence. And as it pertains to healthcare right now, the big pieces are NLP or machine learning. So I think if you can find jobs, and there's quite a few that I see out there that are very targeted toward IT individuals or individuals with IT experience, I will look into that first, and then maybe they can teach you the healthcare side, being that you have a very strong IT side. And most of those positions require very strong IT stuff or IT background, which I'm actually trying to get myself because my IT skills are not as strong as I would like. So hopefully that's helpful, but definitely aside from what you know, I always believe in who you know as well. That makes the biggest difference. You can be the smartest guy in the world, but you might not get certain places because you don't know the right people. So networking is really important too. Definitely check out conferences, network with individuals on LinkedIn. That has been very beneficial, and just check that out. All right, so we have some other. Let me give you a thumbs up and a heart real quick though. We have a question from Mark. Mark says, how difficult was it getting a job in pharmacy school? In pharmacy right out of pharmacy school. Also, as a P1, I'm overwhelmed with the many fields I can get into. How did you go about choosing informatics? P1. Very nice. Just got into pharmacy. Fresh blood. How difficult was it getting a job? So I got. This could be a long question. I'm gonna keep this short. So I went the residency route, which I guess technically counts as a job as well. It is a process where you match. You apply for all these residency programs and you match with them. I actually didn't match, and I found one through the Scramble. It's a very convoluted process. I think if you want to hear a little bit more about that, I would suggest checking out one of my videos that I have where I talk about not matching pharmacy residency. This one, how I learned to be humble after not matching a pharmacy residency. That, if you look at statistics, the match rate, so quote unquote, how difficult it is to get on the job, if you want to quantify that, is it was like 60 something percent, 66% that year. And then it really depends on what type of job you're getting. The feeling I get right now versus before is that the job market is very difficult, and to get hired somewhere is hard unless you want to work in the middle of nowhere, which you probably don't. But the job market's difficult. And to be honest, because you're a P1, it's probably going to change so much by the time you actually graduate. I would highly recommend for you, especially since you're so early on in your career, is Pharmacy Forecast. Yeah, check out Pharmacy Forecast. It's a free document that kind of predicts where the profession of pharmacy is going over the next 4 years. Read it every year, see where the projections are going, and that will help guide you on how best you can equip yourself to be a competitive applicant once you graduate from pharmacy school. So P1, overwhelmed with the many different fields. There's a lot of different fields you can get into. How did I go about choosing informatics? I think in a nutshell, I'll just say that my background originally was trying to get into computer engineering. I loved the tech side. And so I didn't know that informatics existed until I was on rotations. And when I was on rotations, I was like, oh, there's something called informatics. So I looked more into it. And coincidentally, it was actually the very first publication of the pharmacy forecast. It's this one right here, the 2014 to 2018 version. I read that, and one of the key takeaways was that there's going to be no shortage of clinical pharmacists, but there will be a shortage of informatics pharmacists. So I was like, you know what? Maybe this is like a sign. And so I pursued informatics because there was going to be a demand for it, and there wasn't going to be a demand for the other specialties. So that's kind of how I went to informatics in a nutshell. There's many other factors, but that's one of the key things. Supply and demand is important to look at. Julie. Hey, Julie's on this live stream. Cool. Julie is my pseudo mom, which is strange because she's younger than me. But Julie says, what's your favorite Chinese New Year tradition? It is definitely... Oh, this is going to sound bad. It's not the mooncake, right? Chinese New Year, there's no mooncake. I think that's Mooncake Festival. That's a autumn festival. Yeah, I usually I like eating mooncakes. Do you eat mooncakes during Chinese New Year? They're probably even in season. This shows how much I know about my culture. Very terrible. So I don't believe you eat mooncakes during Chinese New Year. My tradition is probably getting the red envelopes, which at this point, it's probably me giving the red envelopes. Kind of sad. But I think that's the main one. It's kind of sad because I haven't really celebrated Chinese New Year in a big way in a very long time. What are some other traditions that you that you do in Chinese New Year? Traditions. Yeah, giving money. Getting money, eating lucky food like fish, lighting of red firecrackers and fireworks. I don't remember doing any of these things. What is your favorite, Julie? Why is it called Spring Festival? These are all good questions. I don't know. I do know it's the year of the rat, though. I don't know. I don't remember. It's just the time to be happy and get money. I just remember I used to get a lot of money during Chinese New Year, and that probably marked a lot of it. I don't remember a lot of other stuff. Maybe like a nice feast, the food, eating a lot of good food. I haven't spent Chinese New Year with my family in a very long time, actually. I wanted to go home to celebrate with them, but I got really busy. But I am going to go fly home next week, so I'll do a belated celebration with them. Yeah, okay. Moving on. Chinese New Year is an exciting time. Okay. That didn't sound very exciting. What is this right here? Check this program out from Daria. Professional certificate program, health informatics and information technology. It sounds like a lot to look through. There's a lot of programs that's popping out about informatics. So let's move on over there. That wasn't really a question. Michelle Daniel. This name sounds very familiar. I feel like I've seen that name somewhere. So Michelle says, thank you for this video. I'm starting residency in mid-June, over 1,000 miles from home, so I'm excited but also a bit anxious. This video answered a lot of questions I had. Oh, that's exciting. So this is 8 months ago. So halfway through residency, or more than halfway through residency, more than halfway through residency. Congrats on getting accepted. Hopefully you are doing good. I'm actually going to release a video, or I hope to record a video soon about one of the key things that happened in the middle of my residency. In a nutshell, I actually went through a very depressed state in the middle of residency. Literally, it was like January, February. And it was, I hit rock bottom during my PGY1 residency, and it was a difficult time. But I wanted to talk about that a little bit because it can be a little hard to, push yourself during residency because residency just becomes so stressful. But I wanted to talk about one of the things that I used, and it was a game changer for getting me through residency. So I'll talk about that in the future. Mental health is really important to think about. I didn't realize it's already past 3. Okay, well let me see what we got here. Actually be on it. Okay. Maybe we'll stream for a few more minutes. If others on the live stream, I don't even know who's on the live stream. Can we check who's on the live stream? Oh, it just says me. If you guys on the live stream have questions, definitely leave them in the comments, and we'll kind of answer those as we go along. I feel like we want to talk about other things aside from pharmacy. Yeah, let's move on and let's see what's going on first. So we have a question, more pharmacy questions from Salaam. Salaam. Thank you so much for your videos. Do you have any recommendations for review books that focus on math and calculations? I really want to practice more before rotations start. Math and calculations. The first thing I thought of was like the NAPLEX. The math and calculations that I used for that was I think it was like 120 questions, student doctor, 120 math calculations. NAPLEX. This was like the gold standard for passing your NAPLEX because you can't miss your math questions on the NAPLEX because you have to calculate that correctly. And that right there, the 120 questions, you did that and you were gold. But this was like before they changed the NAPLEX. That would be definitely something I would look into to make sure you're all up to date on your math. In terms of preparing for rotations, you actually learn quite a bit of shortcuts and stuff. A lot of the calculations I've learned, like just dosing your narrow therapeutic drugs, like vancomycoglycosides, I learned it on rotations, actually. I guess you're trying to review beforehand. It's hard, in my opinion, to study calculations that you don't use. Like, I forgot a lot of my calculations because I just don't use it. Like predicting a trough or predicting a max or predicting what the level is going to be at some point for redosing. I remember the formulas. I mean, I know how to get to it and probably can do it, but I don't remember PK/PD pharmacy formulas. It's hard to remember it if you're not doing it. So you can definitely refresh on it. I would actually recommend just looking at guidelines, recommending guidelines to look at. Isn't there like a cheat sheet? There used to be like a good cheat sheet that you could download. I think this is the one. Yeah. Useful pharmacokinetic equations. Have one of these in your back pocket. This is what I used and carried all throughout rotations and residency to calculate a lot of your stuff. And then because I was in informatics, I liked Excel naturally. I actually stored an Excel calculator that would pre-calculate a lot of this stuff for me, so I can just punch things in and it would calculate that for me. Okay, so good luck. You're probably on rotations already, I imagine. So good luck on your rotations. Wow, this is a long question here. Let's read Victoria's question, and then maybe we'll transition topics to something else besides pharmacy. All right, so Victoria says, hey, Brian, thanks so much for this video. I'm trying my best early on to get as much information in pharmacy informatics. I'm currently employed as a medical lab scientist, aka medical technologist. I don't even know what that is. Terms are used interchangeably, and transitioning into the pharmacy field. I will be a first-year pharm student this upcoming fall. The program I'm going to be has a dual program of pharm HIT Masters. I'm debating whether or not to pursue a master's or simply getting a health informatics certificate. My mind is mostly debating on the cost of a master's versus certificate, but I also want to know the benefits of getting a master's is much higher than getting a health informatics certificate. Thank you so much for your videos. Well, this is a good question. I feel like this is like a good topic to talk about more in depth in the future. So I'll just make a couple comments here about informatics, formal informatics education. And the first thing I'll say is at the, I think 2017 or 2018 ASHP mid-year conference, it seemed as though the consensus of the other informatics pharmacists in the group, we have these like roundtable discussions where we talk about, how the profession's going, what you should do. The consensus would be that informatics experience would trump formal informatics education. So for example, if you actually did a informatics rotation, you worked in some informatics capacity, that trumps any formal education. But obviously, if you have both, that's gravy, right? That's good. But if you were to look at one or the other, in your case, I would say definitely look for informatics experience as one of those key things. So whether that's like volunteering, ASHP SOPIT, SAG is coming up. That's a great way to get involved. Let me just bring that up real quick. SOPIT, SAG. Signups for this ASHP. You work with national group of informatics pharmacists around the world, I think, or maybe just around the nation. But it's a great way to get involved in informatics early on. This is like experience. You work on big projects. So that's one easy way to get in. So whether or not you're doing volunteering, you're doing internships, your IPPEs, things like that, definitely something to look into. In terms of formal education, be it a certificate or a master's, I think people have different thoughts on that. I don't believe in doing, this is just a slight belief. I don't believe in doing education in the same place because I like to look at different ways of teaching or different ways of practice. So for example, I thought about doing a master's in pharmacy school, and I also thought about doing a master's in my residency program, but I was like, I want to learn from another group of individuals. So I'm doing my master's right now, which started 2 years after I started working, because I want to see how some other group teaches you. And I love the breadth and diversity of experience rather than getting all your training and experience in one place. You meet different people, different professors, and you learn a little differently, just in my opinion. So that's one. So I guess in that aspect, I would say encourage you to not get a master's. The flip side of that is I met a lot of individuals that have masters during pharmacy school in informatics and pharmacy. If you did that and you came out, those individuals have blown my mind. They have been so smart in how they analyze certain problems and just coming out of pharmacy school. So that would be a flip side to it. I might lean towards a informatics certificate because it would be like in between. You still get some formal education, and you can maybe debate on whether or not you want to do a master's later, which a lot of the certificate programs can transfer credits to formal master's programs. So something to look into. That's probably the approach I would take if I were to go back. Informatics certificate, look for transfer into a master's later. So just something to consider. Okay. Let me see. I think we're going to end the live stream in a few minutes. And I want to talk about something else aside from pharmacy because everything has been about pharmacy. But I wonder what would be a fun topic to talk about. Maybe I'll talk about something that is some of my upcoming videos that I mean to share. So I mentioned it earlier on the stream, but basically there's a lot of different topics I want to bring up in the future and I want to record. One of which is completely different than any of the content I've created in the past. And, I've pharmacy, travel, masters, the vlogs, things like that, I actually wanted to talk about dating and relationships. It's such an interesting topic, especially when you talk about or when you think about dating in your 30s. So right now I'm 32, and dating is so different than when you're in your 20s. Granted, I didn't really date much in my 20s, or even in my. So I didn't date much in high school, in college, in pharmacy school, or in residency, because I was with the same girl for 10 years. So dating is interesting to me. Let's just put it that way. And I don't have a lot of dating experience, but now that I contrast that dating experience with dating in your 30s, it's been different. You know, how you approach dating is very different. And so some of the content that I hope to create in the future is actually interviewing some of the people I meet here locally in the DC area about, you know, how they approach dating, especially if you're in your 20s or in your 30s. And yeah, it's an interesting topic. There's different things that you definitely look for. And I guess I'll just speak a little bit more. I don't want to get too much into the content that I want to talk about, but basically right now, if anyone is wondering, I don't date at all. I like my time to myself. I like coming home and not having anything to worry about, because it's so busy. My schedule is a little insane right now. I'm definitely overcommitted, way overcommitted, and will continue to be overcommitted until May. And in case you're all wondering, many of you guys probably still already know, I'm currently working full-time. I have a part-time internship. I have part-time school. I obviously do YouTube and a lot of social media stuff. And then I, for whatever reason, am on it's over 5 different volunteer boards for different organizations. So my time is insanely busy. I just don't have time. So I don't date. And it's good feeling and a bad feeling in some ways. But dating is an interesting topic. But I want to talk about it in the future. Interview some people about their dating. You might have seen one of the videos recently that I posted. It was pretty fun, to be honest. Let's see what we have here. Dating in your 30s. Definitely check that out if you haven't already. Looks like Dennis has a comment, and he says, "Good question, Julie." Okay. All right, guys. I think we are going to wrap it up. I need to go back to working on my capstone project and getting ready for the Scottish holiday, Burns Night. So, gonna wrap up the stream. Thank you all for tuning in. I'm gonna create the next live stream. So if you have questions for next time, leave them in the comments below, and we will see you guys next week. All right, guys, take care. Happy Chinese New Year.